Hello to this short hike. This short hike is taking place in the German mountainous region called Eifel. And not just anywhere in the Eifel, but in what is today known as a national park, but what was not too long ago a military base. And this military base had a village which at some point people used to live in, and then was abandoned, and today it's kind of a lost place. Not really a lost place, because to my knowledge people still kind of maintain it, so it's not lost in the sense that people don't take care of it, but it's lost in the sense that nobody lives there anymore. And what this short village is and what its story, that's what we're gonna look at once we're there. This village behind me, which is known as, I think, Wollseifen. It was a village that has been here for hundreds and even thousands of years. And then in World War II, the Nazis have built a military base or an education camp for the children of Nazi leaders and elites, which is on another part of the forest. And back then, people of this village have hoped that because the Nazis were building this new school or this new campsite where they would train people, that they would get jobs as a result. Well, the reality that hit this village was quite different. After the war, or by the end of the war, this village was seized by the British that came in, and the British then have evacuated the people that used to live here, and they basically re-evacuated them to some other places, to the surrounding places which still exist today, places like Dreiborn, Schleiden, Gemünd. They all exist to this day around this area. And what happened was the British wanted to use this territory as a military base to practice. And what happened was, later on, 3 years after the war, the Brits have given this now military base that they seized to the Belgians. And up until 2006, the Belgians have used this to practice this whole field here, this whole base. So this village was constantly abandoned, and there was no access to it. It was completely cut off. Any entrance was basically cut off for civilians to visit this place. In the beginning there were some restricted ways to get in here, because there used to be a cemetery here so there was a restricted entrance for people to visit their, the cemetery of their loved ones. But that was quickly also shut down, and the cemetery was replaced in other villages around this area. And then this village was basically closed off for good to the public. In 2006, this village was reopened to the public, because this entire place became public. It's no longer a military base. And now people try to preserve the history that has occurred in this place. So all of these houses where people used to reside in were basically bricked up like this, so people cannot get in there and tamper with the place, vandalism and stuff. Up there they left the windows, but But down here, they just don't want people to enter it. Which I guess makes sense if you want to preserve a place. And this looks like something that was a garage probably at some point in time. And speaking of vandalism, I think you get the idea. It's people writing all sorts of nonsense on walls and creating fires and whatnot. You know how people are. In 1945, when the British seized this place, the people that lived in this village, as I said earlier, were evacuated from this place to get out of here. But people always had the hopes that they could still return. But the British had a different idea of what to do with this place. They used this as a military base, and as a result destroyed a lot of things in the village. But people still didn't give up. They still had hope. They still wanted to come back in here and get their village back and fix it. But in the early 50s, the Brits did not need this place anymore, and they handed it over to the Belgian military. And the Belgian military kept it until 2006. And even though it was now in Belgian hands, people still tried to get their village back. And they never succeeded. The Belgian army used this place, this entire base that they got, to basically do training with artillery. The Belgians themselves have a army base on their side of the border, which is not far from here. It's like 15 miles, and you're in Belgium, so it's not really far. And they used to shoot artillery from their own base and have it launch until here and explode here, and then, I don't know, I guess analyze the results of it, you know, how much it destroyed, or did they hit a target or something. They would do practices like this. But later on, they didn't shoot artillery anymore, but they still kept this place for many decades until 2006. But by that time, the people that used to live in this place have mostly died out, or, you know, built lives elsewhere. So nobody ever came back to this village to resettle in here, to so to say. They basically now live in other places, and people have decided to now preserve of what is left of this village. And there's a church in this village, which I don't know what year, but it was definitely after 2006, has held a mass again after like 60 years or something of being abandoned. So that's quite interesting. And that church is right over there. So this is the church, or what used to be the church, but this is the church where they held, after 60 or so years of being abandoned, they held mass in. I'm not quite sure if this church was damaged and fixed. I don't know that. But it definitely survived its time being occupied by the military. Here we have the cross, the Christian cross. I guess it's a Christian cross. I've never seen it with such a bow in the middle. And it's not old wood, definitely, so it's not like it's bent or something because of, I don't know, moisture. It was definitely set up like this, so that's quite interesting. Yeah, definitely an interesting building, and pretty chilly in here. These are the benches that people used to sit in during mass. That is what they looked like back in the day. Now obviously these ones are pretty refurbished, but this is how people used to sit and watch the priest hold a mass. Now in those days, religion, at least in Germany became really secular, but if you go back into just like 60, 70 years ago, people were definitely more religious than they are today. So religion played a big role in people's lives. It still does for some people, but it's not as much as it used to be. Germany became really, really secular after the World War II. So that's quite interesting. But despite Germany being mostly a secular country and Christianity not playing such a big role in people's lives anymore, places like churches and other religious places still say a lot about history. And that is how a lot of countries actually in Europe look at religion. They look at it from a point of historic view, when people were believing in religion and trying to explain, the things that are happening around them, asking the big questions, to some of which we actually have answers through science nowadays, but back then they didn't have them, and they were seeking for it in religion. And that is kind of how religion is being viewed in Europe. It's a historic kind of thing that shows how people used to explain what is happening around them and why they believed in it as a result. And here we have an old shed of some sort. I don't know what it was used for. It doesn't really say anything, but this was a village after all, so who knows, maybe some farmer used this. Maybe they had horses in this shed, maybe they had cows or anything in here of the sort. I don't think they had machines in here in those days. I mean, we're talking about the 30s, so I suppose they kept some animals in here, but I don't really have any information that would allow me to verify if that is true or not. But definitely this place has seen better days. As you can see, it's been tampered with. Somebody has lit a fire here and camped out the night. So yeah, people seem to still use it to have a great time, I guess. So some structures are basically just leftovers of something that at some point in time used to be something bigger. I have no idea what this was. It doesn't really look like a house that people would have resided in. And there's no information on what it could be or what it was, but it's here. I suppose that these circle windows, I guess, I don't know if those were windows at some point in time, but maybe they used it for I don't know, sniping or something when this was a military base. I have no idea, but that's what's left. And this building right here, this is what at one point in time was the school of this village. And we have a lot of boards, like for instance here, showing us the students at the time, which were little kids. It's not a big school, it's after all just a village, so it's really just this room and the one entering right here with a bunch of boards. So students used to sit here, and up there, I would assume where the pictures are, used to be the teacher with his own board and teach people. And here we have, for instance, a little description of the things that people used to be taught here, the kids. So German, they would learn reading and memorizing, probably poems and stuff. They would learn, what else? Speech and grammar, so writing. They would learn, what else? Writing beautifully. And then of course math and drawing, geography, history, science, music, or singing. Actually it says singing, but I guess that counts as music. And of course sports. So mostly they had the same subjects that we have nowadays, but then remember that this was, well, depends what time we're looking at. In the Nazi times, you can imagine what history would have been like, history lessons. You can imagine what German lessons would have been like. There would have been a lot of emphasis on keeping the German tradition alive and things like that. So probably a lot of propaganda would most likely been involved. But yeah, this is the school. This is what people, or kids I should say, not really, well, kids are people as well. This is where the kids of this village used to go to school to. And here I would believe that under this must be stairs that would take people to the basement. It says right here that you should not go in there, so we're not allowed to trespass. So I would assume there are some stairs that we are not allowed to go down for whatever reason. Probably don't want people to do stupid things in there. In 1944, a man named Clemens used to live in this area. He was originally from Cologne, which is a city about like 50 miles from here maybe. He was from that city and he used to live in this village. And in 1944 he came back to this village. But then the Nazis wanted to draft him into the military, back into service again. And he vanished. So the Nazis were searching for him, and well, they couldn't find him. And back in the days when you were basically running and hiding from being taken to the military, to your service, death penalty was almost certain as a punishment. But where was he? Well, he was never found. But he was never found by the Nazis, should I say, because he did not vanish completely. He was hiding in the school that we've just been visiting. There was a small apartment somewhere, or a small hideout, where the teachers who ran the school have hid him, and he was staying there, and he was hoping that once the American troops come in, that he would be safe. Well, the American troops never came. It was the British ones that came. And he did survive. The Nazis never found him. He hid in that school. And once the British came, he got out of there and basically survived that way. He did not have to go and serve in the army. Which kind of goes to show that the teachers that ran this school, they were very likely not cool with what the Nazis were doing, because otherwise they wouldn't have given him the chance to hide in the school, which obviously would also endanger the teacher's safety, because they would have been taken to court and punished for that as well. So they took a great risk on themselves as well. So that's pretty heroic if you kind of look at it in the historic perspective and the situation and circumstances that were around at the time in this area. So quite heroic. Look what I found. A skull of some animal. No idea what animal that would be. With a long kind of nose like this, but it looks a bit like, I don't know, maybe like a dog, but obviously it's not a dog, so maybe it's a wolf that died. We do have wolves in the area, so who knows? Maybe. Well, anyway, let's continue on. Oh, that was quite a hike actually. There was a steep hill that I had to climb. But anyways, I made it to the military facility that this actually place and camp is all about. And here's one. Here's another part. Some more over there. So this thing is actually quite huge. It looks like it's abandoned, but not abandoned in the sense that it's not being taken care of. It looks actually pretty well maintained, but this is the inside. And somewhere far down there, about 2 miles, is where the village is. I don't know if the camera will pick that up because it's a wide lens camera. They're not really good for things that are far away to capture them. It's not really the best camera for that. But anyways, it's actually much bigger than I thought, this whole thing. We have an open door here. Nothing really inside here, just some old ventilation, I guess. Or, no, I think those were heaters. This is, oh my god, look at this, these are old heaters. Old heaters from back in the day. That's what they used to look like. We even have a ventilation left over here. Still. So this would be used to heat these rooms. I wonder what this room was. Doesn't say anything. We do have some lighting up here. But these ones, this is some new electricity. This is definitely not from back in the day. Interesting. But nothing else really, so hold on. Can I turn this on? Does this work? There's a light switch here, but it doesn't respond, so I guess it's not working. So we're we're not allowed to go here. It says no trespassing, but this is a construction barrier, so I don't think that that is a permanent that is permanently closed. And here we have some pictures from back in the day, what it used to look like. That is when they built it, and this is when it was later in service, what it looked like. And well, this is what it's now. It even says the years. The first one is in 1937, and this one 1939, and this one in 2007, when they shortly after they reopened it again. This complex is actually much bigger than I initially thought. I wonder if you can actually go up this tower. I'm sure you can somehow, but I think you have to book a tour maybe. It would be pretty cool to actually go up there. There's a door right here. Oh man, I'm kind of tired. This whole facility is so huge. I did not expect it to be. I didn't expect to walk up so many flights of stairs. Jesus. I'm at the top of this facility right now, and I actually got up on top of one of the buildings, which is why you see these roof panels. Oh, I need to catch my breath a little bit. I did not work out much in the winter. But anyways, this is the tower that we've just seen. Up there is some sort of platform, which must be an incredible view from up there. And here we have another building of this facility, where right now people have, I think they have some tourist thing in there and some maintenance thing, you know, to preserve this history. But just think of it, what used to be in there back then. You know, this military facility, which used to be an academy for Nazi elites to get trained, military training. But I don't think that is all that was here. I'm pretty sure they had some secret services here in these rooms, some disgusting secret tactics of the war, and all that good stuff. Maybe, I don't know, maybe even innovating some new stuff, some new equipment or whatnot. Who knows? It was probably also a testing facility for certain things, I would assume. Now, I don't know that much about it. All I read up is that it was a training facility, but this is so huge that I just can't believe that this was the only purpose for this place. It is wildly huge. It's definitely worth a visit. this particular building that I'm walking by basically right now, this was the canteen back then, and it was mostly actually kept even throughout the time it was under occupation. And beneath this canteen are rooms to hang out. There's a bowling alley down there, and if I look inside, I can actually see a bunch of benches. So you can kind of see what it looked like, or what it did actually look like, because it said that this was actually maintained the way it was. So not much has changed in that regard. So we can actually have a look at it. And don't try to break this glass. It says right here police, so if you try to tamper with it, it's all secured. So if somebody decides to vandalize it and break it to get in there, you're gonna have some visitors. So don't do that. That's an interesting sign. It says, during a thunderstorm, stay away from this room. 3 meters. So 3 meters is like what? Like 10 feet? Stay away from this room 10 feet in case there's a thunderstorm. Because if this room is gonna blow, you're gonna be in trouble. Now, if you do visit this place, and it's definitely worth taking a ride out here and seeing this, especially if you're visiting Cologne. It's like an hour drive from there maybe, so it's worth renting a car and coming to check this place out if you're interested in history. But if you come, respect the rules. So if it says no trespassing, like this sign down here, then actually respect it. And there is a lot of surveillance around here. I've seen surveillance cameras. They have alarms, as I've just shown with the sticker about the police. You know, if you decide to tamper with this place, then you're gonna make some new friends, let's say it like this nicely. So definitely have some respect for this place. And I wonder if you can book tours. I think you probably can. And then maybe you can visit some of the insides of these rooms and these facilities. But yeah, if you're on your own here, which you can happily visit, be respectful of this place and don't tamper with anything. Now check out this hole. That's an interesting thing. I wonder what this was. I wonder if this was a lookout, and perhaps this building outside here, maybe it didn't exist yet and this was a lookout, and maybe there was a cannon to shoot something from a hideout. I would assume that's what it looks like. Well, there is no sign, so I do not know. So I'm already on my hike out of this place. Wow, what a huge facility. I expected maybe a building or two, but definitely not a huge complex like this. So definitely worth checking out if you are into history. It's about an hour drive from Cologne, Aachen, Lüttich. Check it out, there's even a bus service.